Now in this raised bed with softer soil, we could probably pull them up fairly easily, but I don't want to pull them up. What's up, Lazy Dog fam? Hope all y'all are having an awesome day. It is Tuesday, November 26th here in South Georgia, and it's finally time to get some spinach planted. So as we get this bed ready to plant some spinach right here, I'm going to give you 5 good reasons to leave the roots in the soil. Going to talk about that, show you how we get this bed ready, and then we're going to get some spinach planted. So today we're going to be planting our spinach in this tall raised bed where we've got some okra stalks that have about had it, and these tall beds work perfect for low growing veggies like spinach. We don't have to bend down near as far to cut and harvest. So why are we waiting this late to plant spinach? Well, mainly because it's just been too hot. We've had a warmer than normal fall down here, and spinach just doesn't germinate well if you plant it when the soil is still too warm. It really likes soil temps in the 60s for best germination. So down here in the South, November is a great time to plant spinach once things cool off a little bit, once those soil temps get in the 60s. We're not really worried about spinach being damaged by any of the winter temps. Never really gets cold enough down here to hurt spinach, but we do have to wait until the soils get cool enough for good germination. Now I could just add another drip line, plant me a row of spinach right down the center of that bed and not even fool with these okra stalks, but I'd like to have a little more spinach than that. So I want to use those 2 existing drip lines, which means we need to get these okra stalks out of here. Had another good run with this dwarf cowhorn okra this year. These plants were very productive for us in the raised bed, but as the weather's gotten cooler, you can see they've about had it. Now if we look closer, we can see we got some pretty decent sized okra trunks right there, and if these were in an in-ground garden plot, it'd be pretty tough to pull those up. Now in this raised bed with softer soil, we could probably pull them up fairly easily, but I don't want to pull them up. I just want to cut them right at the soil level. Let me tell you why. Now this is not always possible depending on what we're planting next, but when we can, we like to leave the roots from the previous crop in the soil, and I've got 5 good reasons why you should do that. Number 1, it's going to improve soil structure, aeration, and drainage. So even though those roots will decompose over the winter, those little channels in the soil created by those roots should remain there, giving the soil some nice aeration and drainage. Now, we typically don't have any drainage issue in raised beds, but in an in-ground garden plot, drainage can be an issue sometime depending on your soil type. Reason number 2, leaving those roots there is going to feed the soil biology. So as those roots break down, it will feed the microorganisms in the soil. Now I'm not going to get into the details or minutia of how that works on this video, but we did talk about that a good bit a couple videos ago when we were talking about cover crops and their benefits, leaving the roots in the soil and all the good things that can do. Number 3, leaving those roots in the soil will reduce erosion. Now, once again, erosion is not really an issue in a raised bed, but in an in-ground garden plot, it could be. Leaving those roots there is going to provide a nice mat, kind of hold that soil there, so if you get some heavy rain, everything doesn't wash away. Number 4, leaving those roots in the soil is going to help to recycle nutrients. So as those roots break down, they're going to release those nutrients that were held in the roots there, hopefully making those nutrients available to the next round of veggies you plant. And I always like to use daikon radishes as an example of this, just because it's easier to visualize. So you can grow a daikon radish cover crop, and all those nutrients will be stored in that big long daikon radish root. When you incorporate that into the soil or let it decompose in the soil, all those nutrients that have been tied up in that root will get released and then feed the next round of plants. And then lastly, reason number 5, cutting those plants at soil level, leaving the roots there as opposed to pulling them up, is just easier, faster, and less messy. Now it's even easier in a raised bed because, like we're going to demonstrate in a minute, In a raised bed, once you cut those plants at soil level, we can add a little bit of soil on top, and that way when we direct seed our spinach, those roots that are left there are not going to impede our direct seeding any. We can make a nice little shallow furrow in the soil that we add on top. Sometimes it can be an issue in an in-ground plot because you can't always go add a bunch of soil on top of an in-ground plot. Those roots may get in the way of direct seeding, but in a raised bed like we're going to do today, not really an issue. So now that we've explained why we're going to be doing what we're doing here today, let's get busy. So our normal pruners aren't going to do as much good here because these trunks are so thick. So going to have to bring out the loppers, and I'm going to get kind of right underneath soil level if I can there. See if I can cut those off. There we go. One down, and that might have been the biggest one. So the rest of them should be pretty easy. Now that those okra stalks are gone, we just need to pull back our drip tape here so we can do a little bit of a mending. We won't unhook anything. We'll just pull those lines back that way so they're out of the way for a minute. And then, as we always like to do when we're, quote, flipping a bed, although we're really not flipping anything here, I like to put down some balanced pre-plant fertilizer. This will get covered up by soil here in a minute, but it will be there when these spinach seeds germinate, start to form roots. These nutrients will be accessible to those plants. We're just going to lightly sprinkle over the entire bed here. And normally I would top this off with just straight bag mushroom compost, but I don't have any of that at the moment. So instead we're going to top it off with this bed mix right here, some stuff I use on my potted fig trees. It has mushroom compost in it. It's just not straight mushroom compost like we normally add. So we're just going to add a thin layer of this, just thick enough so we can plant our spinach seeds without running into a lot of those okra roots. Alright, that should be good enough there. One wheelbarrow full, or close to a wheelbarrow full. I'll just get this smoothed out evenly over this bed here. Now we'll put our drip lines back in place. Just fold those over. Put these staples, these old rusty staples, back on them. Hold them in place. And now we're ready to plant. So yes, I could put more than 2 double rows of spinach in this bed. I've got enough room here to do that. I could probably put 4 lines of tape and do 4 double rows, but I think 2 double rows will be enough, and we'll save this little space in the middle here. Might end up sticking some lettuce plugs right there down the road. Let's go ahead and make some shallow furrows here on both sides of our tape. So one there and then one there, since we're going to be doing double rows here. Just make some relatively shallow furrows for our spinach seeds. So the variety we're going to be planting today is called Sun Angel. This is a spinach variety that I've been growing for several years now. So we have seeds for this Sun Angel variety on our website at lazydogfarm.com, and one reason I like this variety so much is because it's heat tolerant and can handle some of the crazy swings we get down here in the winter. If we get some really warm days, it's not going to just bolt like some varieties will. It can hang on through those wild temperature swings. And if you've never planted spinach seeds, just know that it's pretty tough to plant this stuff too thick. Yes, you can always come back and thin it out later, but plant it pretty thick in the beginning. Easy to do. Spinach seeds are decent size. They're not near as small as, say, like a broccoli or a cabbage seed is. So we're just going to take these and sprinkle them pretty heavily along both sides of this drip tape here on a nice thick stand of spinach. So when we come through here with our knife and cut this stuff, we get a good size harvest. And another thing here, much like we do with carrots, you kind of want to plant this stuff in a band here, not just in one linear row. Kind of sprinkle seeds all over that furrow so you get a nice band of spinach. Alright, so we got seeds down in both of those double rows, and I didn't quite use this whole bag of seeds here, which has around 500 spinach seeds. So that gives you kind of an idea of how much I put down there. So now we just want to lightly cover those seeds, just close up those furrows there, and then kind of press them down a little bit as I go. And then here in a minute I'll get our drip turned on and soak these seed beds down so we get some really good germination. So if you live in an area like we do where it's just now cooling off, don't forget to get some spinach planted, whether it be in an in-ground garden plot or in a raised bed. Heck, you could even grow spinach just in a small pot. You can pretty much grow it anywhere. And down here, we can pretty much plant spinach anytime throughout the winter that we want. But planting it now ensures we'll get quite a few good harvests before it gets warm in the spring and this stuff starts to go to seed on us. And when you're planting your spinach, when you're flipping your beds, going from maybe a warm season veggie to a cool season veggie like we did today, try to leave those roots in the soil if you can. There's lots of good reasons to do so. So I hope you enjoyed the video today. Let me know in the comments below if you've planted spinach yet. And if you missed that video where we talked about all the great benefits of leaving those cover crop roots in the soil, you can watch that right here, and we'll break down more of the science behind it all. So check that out, and we'll see you next time right here at Lazy Dog Farm.